What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today, I'm bringing you guys a brand new video, so let's get into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's happening, guys? I know it's been a little while since I brought all of you some fresh content, and I'm really excited about what I've got here for all of you today and for the foreseeable future. So, guys, I've been working on some things behind the scenes, and obviously I've been working a lot of hours lately, and can't be bringing up any excuses for why I haven't been bringing all of you more content. But one of the things that I've been wanting to do is transition my YouTube channel from, being a primarily gaming related channel to a channel in which where we talk about a number of different things in the world of entertainment, to sports, to finance, to all different types of realms of possibility. And I am really excited to bring all of you Just Keep Grinding. This, guys, is my brand new show that I'm bringing out where we're going to be talking about all the things I find interesting in the universe, the world around us. And I'm really, really excited about it because what I can tell all of you is when I started this YouTube channel back in 2018 and started it as a StarCraft 2 casting channel where I would cast professional StarCraft 2 games, as time went, I was creating content based around a multitude of different games, and the channel as a whole has transitioned over time. So we did a full year of StarCraft 2 casting, then it moved into talking about pretty much all the different Blizzard and Activision Blizzard titles, and then we started talking about a multitude of games that I felt a confidence in talking about, and it kind of transitioned into the future of games and games that we wanted to see continuations of, whether that was Dead Space or Gears of War, or games that we never got sequels for, like Time Shift, Dark Sector. The list goes on and on of all the different games that we were talking about here on the YouTube channel. And what ended up happening was that transition happened, and what we created was the 8 Below show. And the 8 Below show was based around just talking about a multitude of different games and the future of games and things of that nature, as well as esports. Well, the transition, happened from there to primarily Gears of War content. Gears of War, the Gears cast was something that I was, creating a lot of Gears of War based content. Horror Theory was obviously where we would talk about all different types of horror games. And, as I've noticed throughout the course of the history of the channel, this has been just a massive hobby of mine, guys. And what I can tell you, after over 2,000 YouTube videos on the YouTube channel, all based primarily around gaming and gaming related content, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to create content that was still gaming, but I wanted to also talk about other things in the world of finance, in the world of business, in the world of sports. I always have had multiple interests in a number of different sectors, and I am really excited to bring you guys some different types of content, whether we're talking, like I said, gaming related, which that's definitely not going anywhere, but we're also just incorporating other things. We're incorporating sports, going to be doing more shorts on the YouTube channel. And I'm really excited about it, guys. Just keep grinding. The essence of this show is to never give up, to continue pushing forward no matter what. Whether it's if you have dreams of being a full-time content creator, a full-time YouTuber, if you have dreams of being a professional athlete, a professional in the construction business, whatever it is, that's what this is for. Just keep grinding, guys. I'm super excited to be bringing you guys this show. I can't wait to just jump into it, and you guys will see that evolution. I'm not going to make promises on whether it's going to be a daily ordeal or a weekly. What this is going to be, guys, is whenever I have the time and availability where I feel I'm going to be able to give you guys some quality content, some value, I will be bringing out that content on a very consistent basis. So that being said, guys, super excited about it. Let's get into the show. So the Callisto Protocol is considered a flop by on a multitude of different fronts. And I want to talk about this, guys, because this is a game where I feel like there is a ton of promise to the future of the Callisto Protocol from, obviously it's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but I felt that the Callisto Protocol has a lot of characteristics to it and a lot of things that they could really take and implement into a continued sequel. And obviously now the future is in question when we're hearing the rumors and the talk that it was a big miss in terms of what the sales expectation was from the folks over at Striking Distance, but more importantly, Krafton, who is the publisher. So let's talk about it. So guys, this is a article that's coming to us from the folks over at GameBite and Richard Breslin. The Callisto Protocol is considered a flop and puts sequel in doubt. The Callisto Protocol is considered to be a flop by its investors, which puts the chances of a sequel in serious doubt. Announced during the Game Awards in 2020, the Callisto Protocol was quickly considered to be a spiritual successor to Dead Space and garnered a lot of hype. However, that pre-release hype hasn't been replicated in terms of sales. That's according to investors. Obviously, guys, there was a lot of hype around the Callisto Protocol, and for good reason. Glenn Schofield, obviously, one of the minds behind the Dead Space franchise, when there's talk that he's going to be the one helming, this brand new IP and it's going to be a spiritual successor, that's going to come with, a lot of excitement. It's going to also come with some pressure. Well, developed by Striking Distance Studios, led by Dead Space co-creator Glenn Schofield, the Callisto Protocol was released for PC, PlayStation, Xbox on December 2nd, 2022. The Callisto Protocol was at least looking the part in its trailers. It had serious Dead Space vibes, it looked visually stunning, featured over-the-top gore, and even added Hollywood star power. However, the investors of publisher Krafton are reportedly concerned about the commercial loss of the Callisto Protocol. So according to the Korean website MK Odyssey, the game cost a reported 200 billion won to develop, which roughly amounts to $162 million USD over a 3-year period. During its launch period, the Callisto Protocol failed to recoup that investment from its sales. As a result of the game falling short of expected sales, investor stock share prices were lowered. Investors hoped that the Callisto Protocol would sell 5 million copies during its launch period. However, it instead sold 2 million copies. Now, what this tells me, guys, is that with this game in particular, that being the Callisto Protocol, Krafton definitely overextended the spending on this. You see, when we look at another industry, that being the filmmaking industry, horror titles are very, very popular and have garnered a lot of excitement over the years. And one of the things though in the film industry that they do very well is keep horror movies on a lower budget, and then they end up making a good amount of money in their profit machines. Well, in this case, this is a title where it's pretty much opposite, where they decided to dump a ton of resource and development into the Callisto Protocol, which, without question, the Callisto Protocol has some incredible visuals. I thought that the gameplay was a lot of fun. It was a little clunky in certain areas, and it did get a little bit repetitive in terms of the different, villains that you're going up against and creatures and things of that nature. But I do feel that in order for them to be profitable, they would need to sell 5 million copies. That's a lot of copies to sell for a horror title like this. And even 2 million copies is a lot. But when you consider that you had to sell 5 million in order to break even or to start turning a profit, that's really cause for concern for sure. And it definitely, I'm very concerned now about the future of the Callisto Protocol, because I was hoping that this first game was going to launch a long-withsteaded, franchise for Glenn Schofield and the folks over at Striking Distance Studios. And so, really, really unfortunate to say the least. But to be honest, I feel the story is a case of investors expecting way too much. After all, the Callisto Protocol is a new IP, and most would likely consider 2 million sales during a brief launch period to be quite impressive. Sure, the game didn't release in the best state, especially on PC. However, a series of post-launch updates not only fixed bugs, but also made various quality of life improvements. That being said, perhaps the game being totally banned ban in Japan due to the developers not wanting to censor it didn't help either. And I was going to bring this up, guys. The developers they're obviously wanting the game to be compelling to a point where they didn't want to have to change anything about their game in order, and they just felt, and I totally respect their decision on this. But what that also tells me is that the developers as well as the publisher both agreed that they felt that this was going to be in safe hands in terms of hitting their marks even without Japan. Now, to say Japan would, lead this game, even if they censored everything, would have led it to having 3 more million copies, going from 2 million to 5 million, I think it's pretty unrealistic. But Japan definitely would have, helped probably boost those numbers a little bit if they would have censored it. We're not talking about the upcoming Resident 4 remake or the Dead Space remake. The likes of Resident Evil and Dead Space have been around for many years and have a strong and loyal fan base. The Callisto Protocol has started from scratch. It is reported that Krafton intends to claw back sales to meet expectations with a strong push for a story-based DLC as well as cosmetic items. The Callisto Protocol does already have a season pass, and its content is currently unreleased. The season pass content includes the new story modes and cosmetics. So hopefully, guys, they really come up with a good game plan where they can recoup some of those sales so that they can really justify a sequel. Now, obviously, I think that this is a different story than that of like No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky is a perfect example of a game that started off very, very poorly. And as the developers, they believed in everything. They believed in the title and they kept on updating it, and look at where it is to this day. It's unbelievable. What a great comeback story. One of the best ever in the gaming industry. Now, the big question that a lot of people are starting to wonder, especially fans of the game like myself, will the Callisto Protocol get a sequel? Well, at this time, it's anyone's guess. Without giving much away, the ending of the game certainly implied that there is more to come, perhaps more than just the Season Pass DLC. Was the Callisto Protocol a perfect game? No, it was certainly not without its flaws. However, I believe there is enough foundation for at least for them to develop an improved sequel. So, look, guys, I think at the end of the day, a sequel is really going to come down to what the developers and publisher, that being Krafton, do moving forward. The DLC, are they going to be able to knock it out of the park? Are they going to be able to add these cosmetic items to really make for a reason to come back? One of the things that has always really concerned me about titles like this is they put all their resource and development into a single player story. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work, because we look at games like The Last of Us, games like God of War Ragnarok, a number of titles out there that don't have any multiplayer, and all they focus on is a single player story. But that being said, it limits the experience. And what I'm getting at is people coming back to the experience over and over again. And this is a perfect example of a game that I believe needed to have more to it at launch. Whether it was a multiplayer, even if it was you and your friends going up against waves and waves of these creatures, I think that could have been pretty compelling. I believe that, even having a PvP could have been a very interesting ordeal as well. I just feel that they could have done other things to bring people back to the experience, but really the ball's in their court in terms of what they plan on doing moving forward in terms of DLC, what the season pass is all going to encompass. I'm excited to see what they decide to do, guys, but that's pretty much what happened here to the Callisto Protocol. They definitely overextended, that being Krafton, and I'm hoping that they're able to recoup those losses so that we can get a sequel at some point in the future. But let me know, guys, what do you guys think about the Callisto Protocol? What were your thoughts on it? Do you think it deserved to get the backlash it did? Do you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think it'll get a sequel? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more of the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. So the great debate continues, and it's probably going to continue for a long time. And that is the debate, guys, of LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. Two of the greatest of all time when it comes to their craft, that being the sport of basketball. And, everybody's kind of, it seems it's really interesting. Everyone kind of takes their sides. There's some people that say, well, they played in different eras, so they were the greatest of their era, which, in my mind is a little bit of a cop-out. I think that, there is definitely, no matter the era, no matter what, there is a clear-cut favorite. And if there isn't a clear-cut favorite, that favorite will be identified over time to us, especially if any of them are still playing the sport. And I look at an example of this, we look at Tom Brady in the NFL and what he's able to do at the highest level of football. And, I got to tell you, I mean, it's hard to compare, eras, because obviously back in the day, years ago, the quarterbacks weren't protected like they are now. And so a lot of people say that, quarterbacks, in other eras would have been able to do things unlike any other quarterback has ever done in today's day and age. And, look, when I look at the way that, players train now, because that's very different, the way that from nutrition to all those things, putting millions upon millions of dollars into their bodies, I think that we are seeing the greatest era of sports ever. Basketball, football, I look at like even tennis to golf. I mean, all these different, sports out there. I believe that we are seeing some of the greatest play out there from an athletic perspective. And so, it's hard to say that Tom Brady's not the greatest ever based on all of his accomplishments, what he's been able to do on the field. And you really can't talk about on and off the field. You can, but that's more of like a legacy thing to me. When I think of, greatest of all time, what did you do on the court? What did you do on the field? And so that leads me to, Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. And from a pure basketball perspective, I believe that LeBron is greater than Michael Jordan in every area except one. And the one area that Michael Jordan had on LeBron was the clutch factor. Even though LeBron has more game winners than Michael Jordan, a lot of that probably has to do with just LeBron, his longevity, playing longer, and, having more opportunities to hit buzzer beaters. But, Jordan was so clutch in the biggest moments, that being like in the NBA Finals. That was when he was so clutch. But even that is a hard argument because LeBron has had more game winners in the playoffs or in, regular season than Jordan. And so, he's very, very clutch as it is. But outside of that, when we look at everything else, everything, you could start talking from assists to rebounds to just scoring the basketball. LeBron has Jordan beat in every category. And he's been to not 6 finals, but 10 finals. Yeah, he hasn't won as much, but he's also been to 10 finals. So, Jordan, when we start looking at the numbers, 6-0 in the finals, that's pretty impressive, right? But he was there 6 times, not 10. Now, would he have been 10-0? It's hard to say. That era of basketball, I feel that Michael Jordan, his team was the super team back in the day. You think of him, the big three, him, D-Rod, and Scottie Pippen. LeBron, a number of times, he carried teams to the finals. And, we saw this his first go around in Cleveland. Then he finally got, some more help in the form of Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami, won some championships there, then comes back to Cleveland, wins there with Kyrie and Kevin Love. And then, of course, he's in LA now, won a championship there. He's won in multiple places. We saw Michael Jordan, won championships with Chicago, then goes to Washington and was a complete shell of himself. He didn't have a horrific, time there, but, it was pretty much, most Jordan fans don't want to remember those years in Washington. As his years were just kind of waning out. The other big thing for me with when we start talking about the great debate of Jordan versus LeBron, one of the major things for me was the commitment to the sport. And, we look at Jordan. When he played in the sport of basketball, he was dominant. He was incredible. He had the best team then, and he was the best player. And it was, they were unstoppable essentially. But he took multiple breaks away from the sport. So his commitment wasn't fully there. And people argue that he had issues with management. I think that, sure, he probably had issues with, the Bulls. obviously wanting to get rid of, Phil Jackson. And, he's talking about he's going to leave if they get rid of him, and so on and so forth. There are all kinds of, different narratives that were going on at that time. But if those issues were happening with LeBron, LeBron would just leave the situation. He would go to another team and rebuild, right? If he was having those types of issues. Jordan didn't do that. He left the sport completely, goes and plays baseball, and then he comes back, and he does great again when he comes back to the sport. And, goes for another three-peat. It was absolutely awesome. It was magical, to say the least. But then he left again and then comes back again to play for Washington. And what I'm getting at is there's just a level of commitment that was not there in my mind with Jordan, like there is with LeBron, coming in at the age of 18 and seeing what he's done just over the course of his career. He has been solely focused on basketball, building a business empire. Never seen him get into trouble. And those are off the court things. So I'm not going to get too much into that in the business empire. Not going to get into that because Jordan's done, he's pretty much one up LeBron in terms of, from the sneaker perspective and all of that. But I just feel that when we look at from a overall arching perspective, you look at everything that LeBron has done at this current point, and he's not done yet. You got to remember that he's not done yet. He's still playing the game at the highest level of this thing, right? He is playing at the highest level of that we've ever seen. Someone at his age, at the age of 38, what he is doing. And so I feel that for those reasons, that when it's all said and done, and I know there's still a lot of people that believe that Jordan is greater than LeBron, but I think that as time goes, when it's all said and done, the overwhelming, overarching, scope of work, or I should say just body of work that LeBron will have over Jordan, it's going to be undeniable. Now, could LeBron help his case by passing Kareem and then, not only that, but winning more championships and, getting more assists, more steals, more blocks, more rebounds, all those things? Absolutely. I mean, he could certainly help his case in a multitude of ways. And I think he's going to. I believe that he still will win another championship. I believe that the MVPs are going to be tough for him to win, obviously, at this stage in his career. But could he win another finals MVP? I think that's very possible. But his team's got to get healthy. He's got to, he's going to need some help, especially at this current juncture in time in his career, in order to get past the best teams, right? And so I just believe, guys, that when it's all said and done, it will be undeniable that his body of work will be so much more than that of Michael Jordan that it just won't be, it really won't be a question anymore. Because if you're going to go based on championships, then Bill Russell's the GOAT because he's, won the most out of any player ever. So I think that LeBron is, he's continuing to prove every single day the doubters and the haters wrong. And I think you can respect both players. You can respect Jordan. You can respect LeBron. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. But let me know, guys. It's a massive debate. Lots of people. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while here on the channel. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Let me know, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Let me know, and let's have a real conversation about it. And for more content like this, guys, stay here with Zero TV. So something I've been wanting to talk about here on the YouTube channel, guys, is investing. And this is something that I'm very passionate about. So obviously, for those of you who are not accustomed to my YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel for, since 2018, I've been talking about gaming related content. And gaming's been, a passion of mine. But at the same time, actually earlier than when I started this YouTube channel, back in 2016 is when I started investing into the stock market. And I truly believe that the stock market opened human potential, and it created this opportunity that anybody can really be anything. Yeah, an average person can become more than you ever thought was possible. And the stock market really opened that up for me, as a person who, growing up in a middle class home, I was able to, and I learned about it on my own. My parents didn't really, they invest, but it wasn't at the level of, what other people were doing. They were putting money into 401k or a Roth IRA, putting a little bit of money into like Apple stock or, a couple of stocks here or there, but nothing crazy. And for me, at least, I felt that it was important to put out there my story on, how to get started in the stock market, because it really is something that's a little bit, controversial. A lot of people think that there's a multitude of different ways of doing it. And for someone who has not made it in the stock market, but still growing my portfolio and still growing, my wealth at this point in time, I don't think you ever stop growing your wealth if you're smart about it. But I think that I really wanted to give you guys, a couple of things of, really how to start investing in the stock market if you were starting from scratch with like a couple of dollars, which is basically what I was doing. And so what I did in terms of the stock market and how I got started, the first thing is it's really important to have a nest egg of money before you even think about putting money into the stock market. And so number one, guys, is putting together an emergency fund. Typically, they say 6 months of having an emergency fund, 6 months worth of expenses. I actually recommend doing 12 months of expenses. A 12-month emergency fund gives you the opportunity that in the event of a recession, in the event of some really crazy event happening, which obviously, at this current juncture in time, that being like with the recession talks coming out there, I would highly recommend building up about 12 months of, having an emergency fund that would be good for those 12 months of expenses in the event that you lost your job or something of that nature. That way you have a year where you're able to figure out your next move. I think that's very important. Number two, a lot of people talk about debt as a bad thing. I look at debts in terms of if you have a lot of debt outside of like a car payment or a house payment, you really want to try to eliminate it, or you pay off the statement balance on your credit card. For me, I use a credit card. It's the Fidelity credit card. So I invest solely with Fidelity, and I really shouldn't say solely with Fidelity, because I have accounts with a couple of other firms, that being like Robinhood and Vanguard, but my primary one is with Fidelity. But Fidelity Investments, what they do is what's really, really cool is they've got a credit card that every time that you use it, you get 1% back. But what they can do is you can actually just put it directly into an account, whether it's an investment account, a health savings account, a Roth IRA. You could put it into a multitude of different things. And so I do that currently. So, but if you don't have, if you don't feel comfortable with the credit card thing, like you could get into some credit card debt, I'd recommend staying away from that. So that's the next thing, is kind of eliminating certain debts that don't make sense. I think car payments, as long as they're not too high, and a house payment, as long as it's not too high, are, in my opinion, good debt. Credit cards, things of that nature, other lines of credit, I don't think that they're really good debt unless you're paying off the statements on a consistent basis so that you're not paying for those crazy interest rates. The next thing is, when I started investing into the stock market, I started investing into index funds. So what I did was I picked three popular index funds and just started funneling my money into those three funds and started building those out. Now, index funds, mutual funds, those are, I believe they're good funds, and they're safe. They're really, really safe funds to put money into. They're not going to grow like crazy. They're not going to go down like crazy. Typically, they go down very slowly during a bad market. They go up very slowly in a good market. So you put your money in there, and those index funds, mutual funds, are going to be funds that are going to be buying into a ton of different companies, right? They're going to be buying, some shares of Apple in them. There's going to be some shares of Coca-Cola, some of the blue chip stocks, and maybe some more aggressive things like Coinbase, or even things that are even more aggressive than that. And so you buy into I started by buying shares of those, some index funds, mutual funds. And as I was starting to slowly build some wealth, that almost created a second layer nest egg for me, in terms of like a second emergency fund. So to give you an example, let's just say that 12 months of savings got wiped out based on, we had a huge recession. I wasn't able to find work for an entire year. I went through my entire 12 months of expenses. Well, at that point, I would start dipping into those index funds and I would start cashing those out. And so it kind of creates a little bit more of instead of like selling, stocks or, stocks that are giving you dividends and things of that nature, I figured I would go to that nest egg of money that was going to be in those mutual or index funds. And typically, depending on, which funds you are investing into, there's no fees for withdrawing money. So that being said, the next thing that at least what I did, and guys, this is not investing advice. This is just giving you guys an idea of what I did and ways that I've been able to build wealth over time is through kind of this strategy. The next thing that I did, guys, was I started buying into some, blue chip stocks is what they call them. More of like the boring stocks, the safe stocks. But I would never I would always recommend doing your own research, whether you're looking at balance sheets, whether you're looking at PE ratios, the market capitalization, all of those different things. And as you're looking at like quarterly earnings, always doing your research and investing in things that you feel a confidence in. So what I started with were companies, and it's interesting because one of the stocks I invested into from the very beginning was my one and has been my only mistake so far in the market. And that stock, I invested into Coca-Cola, which is the first one, which is a great investment, still holding it to this day. And my second investment was Snapchat. And Snapchat, guys, the reason why this was a terrible investment for me, I'm not saying that Snapchat is a horrible company or anything of that nature, but it was a business model I didn't understand. And it had just recently gone public, or it just had recently IPO'd on the stock market, and I felt that maybe Snapchat was going to be one of those stocks that would spike up to the moon like Facebook did, or even at the very least maybe something it was a little bit higher than say Twitter or something of that nature. And it ended up just being a terrible investment for me. And the reason being was, more than anything, I didn't properly do my research on Snapchat. And it was something I personally didn't even have a Snapchat at the time. I didn't understand it. And, what I'm getting at is that was a huge mistake for me because I didn't understand the business model. I didn't understand Snapchat even as a platform. I didn't understand it, and so I should have never got into it. So that was my one mistake. But Coca-Cola has been an incredible investment for me. Just a very slow growth, but giving you dividends as you go along the journey. AT&T, Bank of America were the other two that I was investing pretty heavily into. Kind of rounded out like my big three of like core stocks that I wanted to have a good amount of money into, that I would just let them kind of do their thing over the course of time. The next thing was starting to build out a little bit of some tech, getting into like the tech sector, that being, companies, as time has gone here, companies like Zoom, companies like Roku, even, more recently than not, Coinbase, getting into Apple, of course, obviously, the largest, company in the world, Facebook, getting into some of those other tech related stocks, I felt was really important. Tesla was probably my investment that paid off the most in terms of in just in terms of like growth. In the tech sector for me, I invested a good amount into Tesla, and then it ended up spiking. And I was buying Tesla just so you guys get an idea. I started buying Tesla every time that it would go under $300 a share. I was buying into it, and it would keep on kind of fluctuating over time. It was going a little bit up, it would spike, and then it would come back down. But every time that it went under $300, I kept on buying, and then all of a sudden it spiked. The stock split. I sold part of my stake in Tesla, and I bought a Tesla, and that's what I ended up doing. And so, but to this day, I still hold a stake in Tesla because I think it's very, very important. And then on top of that, now with the stock being crushed as much as it's been, I definitely kept on continued to invest into Tesla for sure. So that was a stock that really helped me, kind of get to the next level of what I wanted to do in terms of my portfolio and everything else. So what I'm getting at, guys, is you would recommend picking like anywhere between like 10 to 15 stocks. I would pick primarily safe stocks that you feel a confidence in that are paying you dividends. Now, dividends, for those of you who don't know, are basically returns that you get from holding a stock. And what companies will do is they will essentially give back to their shareholders. Companies like Coca-Cola that really aren't continuing to invest heavily into their business, they're giving that money back to shareholders. And so comes in the form of a quarterly dividend. Now, every company works differently. Sometimes they pay a dividend once a year, kind of like Activision Blizzard, or a couple times a year like Disney. Every company works a little bit different. But having a heavy dividend portfolio, I think, is really important, because then you can take the money that they're giving you for holding the shares, and you can either reinvest them back into those specific stocks, which is what I'm doing, or you can take that money and start buying into another stock altogether. Or if you build enough dividend shares in these dividend stocks, you can some people are retiring off of it. They're able to just live off of the dividends that are coming. And for most people, that's something that would come down the road, right? As you build your portfolio out over time, you can get it to those levels. And so that's how I have done investing at this point, guys. And I'm continuing to kind of keep the same strategy during this current juncture time, that being like a recession period. I think it's a great opportunity to build generational wealth. I really believe that, buying and buying more, and not just holding for, a couple of months and then selling. I think that holding for the long term, buying in companies that you believe in for the long term, and then reaping those rewards as time goes when those stocks go up. But I think right now is the best time to get into the market, because even if the market continues to go down and continues to crash, it's going to go back up. And when it goes back up, those are going to be some incredible returns over time. And I definitely recommend that. I think 2023 should be a year, if you're not in the market, that you should be getting into the market and taking advantage of the opportunity for all these companies that are on sale right now. I look at the stock market as a real market. I look at it as if I was going to the store and I saw a piece of clothing that was on sale, and it was something that I had wanted for a while. You are going to probably pick it up that day if it's on sale. And so I look at the stock market as the same thing. If I feel like companies that I believe in for the long term and I really love for the long term, I'm going to continue buying those shares, whereas a lot of other people are just selling those shares off. And so that's my mindset going into, obviously, in 2023, right here, right now, is just pushing the buy and buy more mindset in the stock market, so that whether it's 2024, 2025, or further than that, when the stock market turns back around, which history shows that it will turn back around at some point or another. There may be some dark ages for a while, but if you can get through the pain, there's going to be some massive gain at the end of the tunnel. But let me know what you guys, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts about this. I would love to hear like an open-ended conversation about about this, guys? What are some of your strategies that you're going into in the stock market here in 2023? Is there, different strategies that you guys are coming up with that you're finding are working, things that aren't working? Are you guys just getting into the market? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let's have a real conversation about it. And for more stock market content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. So Atomic Heart is going to be coming out, guys, in the very foreseeable future. Very excited for this title. And I wanted to talk, though, about, where is the Atomic Heart multiplayer? Is this something that we're going to be getting at some point in the future? Or, because there was obviously talk that they were going to have a multiplayer in this title from the very beginning. And obviously that has changed. And this is a first-person shooter that I've been, like I said, really excited about. And I wanted to talk with you guys about this. So let's get into it. So guys, in an article coming to us from the folks over at Games Radar and Josh West, there won't be Atomic Heart multiplayer support. There will be no Atomic Heart multiplayer support. The news arrived a couple of weeks ago as developer Mundfish flip-flops on previous statements to now say that the game will be single player only. At one point, the studio said that Atomic Heart would feature dedicated regions where you could fight other players, with the official website even going so far as to confirm the combative spaces. If you are ready to challenge other players, a secret railway will get you to a special region meant for PvP battle. Sadly, game director Robert Bergratuni recently told WCCF Tech that no multiplayer add-ons are planned at this time. And so this really, for me at least, guys, I really feel that this could be a real shot in the foot for Atomic Heart, a game that is starting to build some buzz, some excitement. It's very quirky. It's really, seems to be different in a number of ways. And they decide to pull any multiplayer from it. And I think that this is a massive mistake. I've said this a multitude of times, guys, and I will continue to harp on this. I will die on this hill that if you are developing a AAA title, it should not be considered a AAA title if it doesn't have 3 core elements to it. It's AAA, right? We're talking 3 A's here. So there needs to have 3 things in it. 1 is a campaign, a story mode of some sort. Number 2 is a co-op mode where you can play with your friends. And number 3 is a multiplayer mode where you're able to play with other people across the globe. And the reason why I'm going to die on this hill, guys, is because I've seen so many times where game developers and just, publishers get into this mindset where it's only about multiplayer. Or on the flip side, it's all only about a single player story. And I disagree so heavily with this mindset, because I feel that if you're putting and you're dumping all these resources, this development, research, everything into these games, for someone who loves the art of gaming, someone who loves the art of competition, but also loves the art of storytelling, I think that, and I believe I share, there's others that share the same sentiment as myself. I think it's really important that it's a full package. AAA is a full package, or it should be, presented as such. Now, look, I know that there's some games that have broken this mold, that being games like The Last of Us, God of War Ragnarok. I mean, the list goes on and on. Mainly, like, a lot of PlayStation titles have done this, where it's only a single player story. And that's totally fine. But, and I know those games have sold very well. But how much better would they sell if there was a multiplayer that was, added later on? Or it came out with the game? The hype was so big for The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer that there was so much buzz, and then they took it away. Or they didn't release it ever. So The Last of Us Part 2 never got a multiplayer mode. And the first one did have a multiplayer, and it was, beloved by many people. And, the same thing with God of War Ragnarok. I feel like with God of War Ragnarok, maybe a PvP wasn't necessarily like the thing, but having something where it was like PvE, where you could go up against waves and waves of other, gods and these monsters and all this with your friends or, by yourself, whatever it might be. I just think that having multiple ways that you can connect with the universe builds that lore. It builds the legacy of these games. And so if anyone from Munfish is watching this, please, if you release the game as just a single player story to start, that's fine. But I believe adding multiplayer is crucial, especially when we're talking about a first-person shooter. I think that this could be, it could be something really special. From seeing the gameplay and all of those things, this looks like something really, really special. I think of games even like, Far Cry, which took so long to really even get even a fraction of a multiplayer mode, which I think that they could have capitalized on it so much earlier. We look at games like Call of Duty. Call of Duty could just release the multiplayer and call it quits and be like, it's just a juggernaut of a game. They're just going to release a multiplayer mode of it, and that's it. But, year over year, they're adding multiple modes to really build value. That being like campaign, battle royale, whether it was Blackout, whether it was, Warzone. Call of Duty has built so much value over time. And I just can't, really hurts me that, Atomic Heart is just kind of going, following this trajectory of what some other AAA developers are doing. And that's just, no, we were thinking about a multiplayer, but actually we're going to rip that from the game and we're just going to focus on the single player story. And maybe the multiplayer they felt wasn't compelling enough. Maybe there was a number of reasons why they felt like they shouldn't do it. But I can tell you that if you want to build a culture around your title, it's not going to be just based on a single player story. It's not just going to be based on a multiplayer modes. And the reason being is because if you have multiplayer modes and that's all you have as well, then you can't really build out a story. See, like even a game like Fortnite that is primarily just a battle royale, they still, they have, and I'm sure they're going to continue building out the lore of, like with Save the World or whatever it might be in Fortnite, but they've got this like core audience and then they're creating the story within the multiplayer, so it's a little bit different, and they're keeping people engaged by doing it that way. And Fortnite really, they transcended gaming in a massive way, but they still have more of like a story type of mode where you're kind of learning about this world slightly. And I think that they could definitely expand more upon that. But what I'm getting at is having multiple modes, whether you're talking single player, co-op, multiplayer. That's what makes the AAA package, in my personal opinion. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about this. What do you guys think about Atomic Heart not having multiplayer? Do you think they should bring it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Atomic Heart content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of Just Keep Grinding. And if you guys did, make sure you guys leave a thumbs up. If you guys enjoyed the content, it helps out the YouTube channel in a massive way, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you for all of the new followers, all the new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. If you guys want to support the channel, you guys can join the channel. You guys get some perks, some really like cool emotes and things of that nature that you guys can show off in the chats as well as in the comment section down below. If you guys are new to the channel, think about subscribing, guys, if you want to see more content like this. Thanks again, guys, for all of the support. I'm just really excited to continue creating content for you guys. And for Just Keep Grinding, the official first episode coming out to all of you. Really excited about, where we're going, guys, and all the topics that we're going to be talking about. If there's specific topics you guys want me to talk about, let me know. And I would absolutely love it, guys. Thanks again for all of you. And I appreciate each and every one of you in a massive, massive way. If you guys enjoyed it, like I said, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.